The king once asked Mozart, Wolfgang, why do you drink so much? And Mozart said, King, rock and roll is hot, dry work. A few years ago, there was this woman came to the farm to visit us from East Germany. She came over as part of the Marshall Plan. When the wall was taken down, the money that had gone to that part of Germany was available for teachers to come over. And she came because she was doing a retrospective about the 60s. Every time I'm contacted by anybody from that communist bloc, it always tickles me because the communists allowed Cuckoo's Nest to be done over there, published over there, because it was considered anti-American. And in a way it was. But we were driving around, and this woman, beautiful woman, 6 foot tall, and she'd been a heptathlete in the recent Olympics, and very, very beautiful, very strict, frown on her. And me and my buddy Ken Babs were driving along, talking to her, and she's sitting in the middle of this convertible, and Babs lights up a joint and offers it, and she doesn't take it. He hands it on to me, and I take a hit from it, and I hand it back to her, and she said, no, I don't do the drugs. I said, and you're doing a retrospective of the 60s? That's like being interested in downhill skiing and you don't like snow. This is what it ran on. And I'm amazed how the forces have turned against this kind of consciousness. The girl finally did take a good hit, and pretty soon she took another hit. Pretty soon the scowl on her face began to go away, and you could see the fear hit her. She began to look back around, and Babs is bopping up and down over there, and you could see her make a choice. Am I going to go with the scary side of me, or am I going to go with the funny side? She looks at Babs and looks at me and says, I've been in America 2 weeks. They take me all through Texas, all down these things where I have big meetings where I go and they give me roast beef. And she says, I thought I had seen every kind of macho in America that you could see, but this is the first time I've run into goofy macho. And she began to laugh, and we all laughed, and she settled down. And so we hung out with her a couple of days thereafter. And she's been sponsored by somebody over at the University of Oregon. And she called and said that they were at a cowboy band, a cowboy dance. And she said, I need help, come get me. I thought that she'd got real high or something. But I went over there, and the band was the usual jump up and down Western band, and all the girls were wearing fuzzy sweaters and their hair all fuzzed up, and they were just jumping up and down. And I said, come on, I'll take you to a better place. So we went over to the university, in a place over there called Taylor's, where blues happens. And we were standing outside there, and I was talking to people that I know, and you could see these people coming back and forth from in there. And you hear the strains of blues music coming out of that room. And she said, this is what America will be known for in history. This is our great contribution to art, is the blues. And I realized this is absolutely right. Never mind all this jumping up and down, whether it's Western or psychedelic, that'll come and go, but the blues is with us, and it's gonna stay, I'm afraid. I hadn't been really planning to get into this, but this has been so much on the subject, on everybody's mind, that I thought we might as well do it right now and get it over with. I was asked to be on the Ted Koppel show about 3 or 4 years ago. They were having one of those town meetings, and it was a big debate about drugs and the effects of drugs. And the woman that was putting it together, she called me and asked me kind of what my statement would be, how will I deal with it. And I said, well, I'm going to say pretty much what I usually say. Just say thanks. And she said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, just that, just say thanks. She said, you're not for drugs, are you? I said, isn't this a debate? Have you heard anybody in the last 5 years speak out for drugs? How can you have a debate without having both sides? But we're having it right now completely, all the time, on every bit of television. When Clinton gets into trouble, he tries to pass another anti-drug bill, or he won't let you hand out the needles. And we have been hemmed into a corner without really appreciating the job that's been done on us. We're lower than communists. We're lower than Indians. We're the bottom. The basic old drug viper. We are the niggers of today, and that's the way we're being treated, and we're taking it lying down. You haven't heard anybody actually come back up and yell at Clinton, hey, Mr. President, tell me, is it true that you didn't inhale? And all I can think of is that the bastard is lying to both sides when he does that. How can you trust a guy that does that? Says that, you know, I didn't inhale. It's like being, I experimented in homosexuality, but I didn't swallow. And you know that this is what the guy is about. So, from this this thing that happened 30 years ago, I often get asked the question. I've been asked it 3 or 4 times a day by reporters of whatever happened to the 60s. Well, for one thing, we all got arrested, which throws a hitch in your get along. But the other thing I have been telling people is that the 60s ain't over till the fat lady gets high. And we're either going to get her high or we're going to die trying. I'm not going to slink off, because I'm not trying to get any grants or anything. I'm up here straight on to you guys, the first time I've been out in a number of years to come talk to you. And I don't know how I come to these places, but my wife fields the calls that come in over there, and finally she sorts them out and picks the one that she thinks I ought to do. And I don't really appreciate it till suddenly here I am. And when I heard that you guys are doing it formal, that's why I wore all this stuff. But I'm going to take it off. Because it's going to get too warm. And as I take it off here, I'll kind of continue to ramble on about how I feel, what I feel our next movement is as psychedelics. Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss. And that makes a lot of sense, except for the fact there's billions of dollars being poured into TV right now to tell you what your bliss is. To tell you that it drink this, or wash with this, or gargle this, or wear this. And so it's fuzzy for a lot of people. What is our bliss? Is it just lust? Are we looking to get into every centerfold we unfold? So it takes a certain kind of gyroscope or compass to keep us on the right track. And one of the things that LSD will do for you, it'll clear up your compass. It will correct your compass for you real damn quick. When when you're high and you're loose and you realize, shoot, what am I going to do now? This is me. I mean, I remember the first times that I took LSD at this hospital where I worked, where I eventually worked. I felt like what we were doing was as American as it gets. We were Lewis and Clark. We were going into areas that nobody dared to go in. That's why the doctors were hiring us students from there. And I thought, wonderful. Look, I'm able to see the real books, not the books that are being kept in school, not the books the IRS is keeping, but the real books. And so finally, every person that takes acid has this happen to them. This big voice said, "You want to see the books? I'll show you the books." And a big hand grabs you and forces you right down there, and you're having to look at every merciless, thoughtless act you've ever done. You're having to look right ahead. You can't move your head. You're seeing how nasty you've been to your wife. And you're seeing all of this stuff, and that's hell. That's where that real hell lies, down in there. And when you come out of that, you say, I'm going to try to be nicer to women, for instance. I am not going to tell a bunch of jokes that always gets a laugh, but they're not kind jokes. They're not gentle things to say. And in that way, I think a lot of us kept our compasses clean. It doesn't make any difference whether you're taking the drugs so much as whether it's there and what the drug is. And when I'm speaking of drugs, I'm really speaking about grass. I'm not talking about especially cocaine or speed or crack. I don't know anything about crack. I've never seen it. And already there are so many people talking about these other things that don't know. I don't see a reason for me to add my ignorance to this pile that's going on. It's already built up high enough without mine. Excuse me. Here's a way that I have been able to work with my compass. I feel like there are warriors, and that we know and have known a number of warriors, wonderful, powerful warriors. And there's a way that you can see which is the warrior and which isn't. And I have done this by making arbitrarily two categories. One of them is shit floats, and the other one is cream rises. And we all kind of know what it is, you know. Shit floats is Eddie Murphy. Cream rises is Richard Pryor. Shit floats is Madonna. Cream rises is Joan Baez. I've known Joan Baez for 30 years. A couple of years ago, she was going over to Sarajevo to sing for people. She had to cancel a concert in Eugene to go over and do this. And she apologized to everybody and said that people that wanted their money back could bring in their tickets and get their tickets. Nobody from Eugene brought in their tickets. They knew that Joan Baez would make good on her promise. Her voice itself, who she is a warrior. We know that this is a battler. She's been at every really big-time battling scene that you can imagine, all across the nation and now around the world. She's like Taj Mahal. These are warriors. You don't make that much money, but you sing stuff and you say stuff that means something to young warriors. Shit floats is Tom Wolfe. Cream rises is Hunter Thompson. And we know these things. We know them instinctively. And how we are able to sort through them in our lives depends on how well we act. And we find various different ways of keeping our compass needle trued up. And acid is one of the ways. Grief will do it. Fasting will do it. My wife is the best biblical scholar probably in Oregon, right? She's been studying the Bible so long and so hard that she doesn't even argue with the Seventh-day Adventists anymore. She's got it down, and it becomes a yoga for her. And she's never trying to get me to go to her church. I'm not trying to get her to come breathe nitrous oxide. But they both are the same yoga in a way. It gives you something you can draw a bead on. And even if the bead is scattered, like with nitrous oxide, sometimes the bead gets scattered. It's still, I respect her for her yoga and her belief and the fact that she's been teaching Sunday school for 30 years. It always amazes people. Kesey's wife teaches Sunday school up there in Oregon. They say, are you sure you're married to the Kesey that we've heard about? And I met this girl in junior high in Oregon, same place that we live, where my parents have all lived, where her parents have lived. We've been married 40-some years. This gives me certain credentials to go out there and talk about stuff. This isn't just somebody jumping up and rattling on, or somebody who's been made famous by an article in the Oracle 30 years ago. This is about a husband and a farmer who has the right to speak about these things. And nobody else is saying it. I'm amazed how much nobody is saying it. We have 5 initiatives on the, trying to get them on the ballot in Oregon today. And none of them are going to make it. For one thing, all 5 of these different groups are fighting with each other. There's medicinal marijuana, there's hemp, there's the right to grow, there's all these different things, and you get them together and they fuss with each other. And I believe in the evil force. I don't know exactly how to convince you that it exists, but I believe in it. And I believe the evil force is able to get in and move people around and have them do dumb shit. And we are full now of what I call FUDs. These are fat, ugly, dumb people. Fat, ugly, dumb people. And it's not they were born fat or ugly or dumb. They have made a choice to be fat, ugly, and dumb. They have made the choice to play the lottery. To play the lottery. Christ almighty. And old liquor stores where I've been going for 20, 30 years, the same liquor store, all the tables that used to be filled with these bottles of Elvis singing, that you dump it in Southern Comfort, that's been pushed aside because all of these video games are up there and all these scratch cards are up there. And I was through there buying my own Southern Comfort a month or so ago, and this woman says, well, which lottery tickets would you like? And I said, well, I can't buy lottery tickets. I'm not allowed to buy lottery tickets. And the place is full of old people, of people my age, scratching on these things, trying to come up with a winning lottery ticket. And she said, they all turned and looked. They were outraged that I should be banned from playing the lottery. And she said, what do you mean? I said, my IQ just isn't low enough to play the lottery. And I said, what I did was I was in their church, and I said, bullshit. Bullshit is going on. And she says, well, what do you mean? Don't you like gambling? I said, well, I do like gambling. As I told Karen's husband, Michael, I think poker is one of the great games in the world, but that's skill. It's not just chance. It's not gambling. And I told her, yeah, I used to like to go duck hunting, but I don't consider going out and sitting in the fog just randomly shooting your gun in the air to be hunting. That's superstition. That's people who are believing if I wear this on my watch chain and I have my Mother Christopher thing and pet them just right and I buy a lottery ticket, right then all the angels say, oh, fuck you, I'm going to hang on. You're going to buy lottery tickets. You don't need angels and saints. You're already up to your ears in bad forces. What's happening across the nation with the Indians right now? Lottery and video poker and the casinos it's happening all over Oregon. At first there's Warm Springs, now there's a Cow Creek Indian Reservation. They've started up everywhere. A lot of money is coming in, but you go in there, there's no Indians there. It's hired people from Las Vegas. And the Indians have stood up under a hell of a barrage of crap for 200 years, but this may be the one that does them in. When they start going into gambling, when they start locking horns with Las Vegas is going to win. But I can't go into an Indian casino and say bullshit to them, because the word would get back to the Indians, and the Indians would say, hey, what is it, you don't think the Indians have a right to have a casino? And I always think, yeah, but let's do some Indian games. Let's not just do roulette and blackjack. There's a number of great Indian gambling games that they've done forever. It would be fun. And it would be run by Indians instead of the Indians being convinced by some slick lawyer from Reno to go into gambling because there's an opening. And what they do, they import all the stuff from Las Vegas. Now, I can see, if you've ever been to Las Vegas or Reno, it's like a huge cloud, a huge funnel cloud circling around, and it's aiming its point right down there into the heart of Las Vegas, and it's green, and it's sucking money out of the American pocket. It's sucking money out of my grandson's college. It's drawing money from where we are the most vulnerable. My mom goes down there and goes to Reno and Las Vegas, and she is kind of apologetic about it, but her husband likes to go because there's the action. You're with the Elks, and you get to see the girls and the dances and so forth. But my mom knows that that's not any way to run a government. You can't run a government with gambling, because you're taking money from the people that can least afford it and giving it to the people that least need it. All I could see out of Las Vegas is this funnel of green stuff going away. And you don't know where it's going, but you don't see it cropping up in daycare centers somewhere down in Charlottesville. It's not any of it coming here. The people are driving there to shove their family's inheritance in this great sucking maw like that. You know what? You don't run into anybody that smokes grass that goes to those casinos, because they realize that's laughable. You have to have blocked out part of your mind to go in there and deal with these people from Las Vegas and give them the money and figure you're going to get a good deal out of it. So, next time anybody says something to you about playing the lottery, say, I win the lottery every day. I don't play. I'm not going, I'll let you dumb suckers go ahead and contribute the money for taxes, but I'm not going to play. And all of those dollars that I would spend playing the lottery, I have other things. Nitrous oxide is expensive. I've watched friends die over the last few years. Good friends. Long, powerful, good friends. Ginsberg. I didn't really appreciate how much I loved him until he wasn't there. This little kind of effeminate Jewish something was a tremendously powerful man, and he was trying to hand on this power. And the story about Ginsberg, when he died, what his last words were, was he had called in all of his friends, Ferlinghetti, Gary Snyder, Corso, Peter Orlovsky, around his bedside. And he motioned Corso to lean close. And Corso leaned close, and Ginsberg says, "Toodaloo." I lost my son in a wrestling accident, on the way to a wrestling meet. The van went off a cliff, and I remember the feeling of it. I'll go back to that. I don't want to talk about that in a while. Anyway, I'll get back to it. Okay, I'll tell it. You know, if anybody knows the song "Broke Down Palace," fare thee well, love you more than words can tell. After Jed had been dead a few months, we went to see the Dead. They were playing at our opera house. And they did their usual stuff, and they got their big ovations. And then they started playing Broke Down Palace. And they all turned toward me. All our family are sitting up there. They all turned toward us. And all the guys in the audience began to turn toward us. And that song was sent from the Grateful Dead to our bruised hearts. And it was like having somebody reach out and putting their hand on your shoulder and say, yeah, we feel it. And when it was over, there was no applause. Everybody knew it. We were all crying. And how many bands do you know that could do that? You know, when Eric Clapton begins to do this thing like No Tears in Heaven, this is real. This isn't rock and roll. This is the heart speaking out to other people whose hearts have been wounded. And there are a bunch of us. We have more people in jail in this country than any other nation in the history of the world. More people per capita in jail. I'm continually being asked to sign things that they can sell to try to get some 22-year-old kid out of jail who's sold a little dab of acid somewhere and got busted and is serving 25 years. And the less vicious the drug is, the more gears they're giving him. You know, we're finally getting around to pulling the covers on tobacco. Now, tobacco is a bad drug, and we've known it. We've known it. All of you people my age, we've known it. We've known that black tobacco is bad. I don't care whether you're from Virginia or not. Tobacco is a mother bad damn drug. And when people say, yeah, but we got to have some way to take care of those farmers who live up on the ridges and they don't have any shoes. Yeah, but I would rather have this opportunity to give them the money than to have them grow the tobacco and sell to people. These kids that shot the kids at the school, everybody that saw that thought, who's to blame for this? I know who's to blame. We are to blame. We're all to blame. We're blamed for watching a homicide stuff on TV. We're blamed because we have the kids in front of it when we want to do something else. You start counting the amount of times a gun goes off on television and they say that the gun isn't connected to this. How long are we going to stand for this shit? It's wrong. It's wrong. Take the guns away from these people. Or if they raise hell and they won't give you the guns, take the bullets away. There's nothing in the Constitution about bullets, is there? Just take the bullets away. Now we're getting down to it. I'll go into my beret consciousness now. Thank you. Yeah, I haven't done this in a while, so it'll take me a while to get kind of warmed up to it. In kind of in the same vein as the kids that shot the kids, I have watched people on both sides of the abortion argument. People who are naturally very close. They really are, both of them close. They're trying to defend something that needs defending. They're trying to defend something that's helpless. And they're right at each other's head, and they're screaming at each other with this terrible vindictiveness, even though you'll see these women right at each other. You can't tell who's for it and who's against it. If they step back a step or two and look at it again, what they see is they have been tricked into being on this side or on this side. It doesn't make a difference which side you're on. If you're tricked into being on one or the other side, the evil force has got you by the ears. Anybody that wants to be free enough to be a real warrior cannot be tricked like that. When it comes down to it, it's not either one of those women's fault. It's the fault of the guy that knocked him up. Women haven't figured this out yet because they're still so busy arguing they don't want to come down and deal with it. But the truth is, nobody really wants an abortion. They want not to get pregnant. They want to be able, and they've had birth control in France for 30 years that men take and works. Men take it. They don't want to sell it over here for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons is that it turns the whites of your eyes bright blood red. But you know, you can imagine that being a real hole card in a singles bar. You go in bright red eyes.